Okay, let's start to look at the final consummation. A final consummation is summarized in this verse 1 of Revelation chapter 21. So let's read it together. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. Okay, so what's going on here? Let me first ask you one question. What is your first impression of the book of Revelation? Do you like it or not? Or are you scary about that or not? Well, many students say to me that they are afraid of the book because you can find a lot of words and many, mysterious phenomena and so on and so on. Well, I can understand, but that's not the intention of the book. So let me give you some introductory remarks to this book. First, it is a book of revelation. It means it is not designed to hide something, but to reveal something. Revelation means to reveal, to open up, right? Second, it is about the book of holy war. You can find many stories about war there, but it's not really fighting with the weapons, but rather it's a spiritual warfare, yeah, between the kingdom of God and the kingdom of darkness. And ultimately, God's kingdom will be victorious. That's the message here. Third, it's the book of comfort and encouragement. It's not to threat you, rather, it's to encourage you and comfort you. How do you know? I will tell you just a minute. And it's also the book of praise. You can find a lot of praise in this book. So it's the Psalm of the New Testament. And you can see many new songs composed on the basis of this book. And Handel's Messiah, for instance, is the same. And then this book is the book of mission, that the world mission would be fulfilled and consummated. The whole tribes, all people gather together before God's throne, praising Him, right? And finally, this is the book of cosmic sovereignty. God has eternal sovereignty, okay? So if you put them together, you might have a positive picture of this book. Okay? Now, let me explain a little bit more how this book is the book of comfort and encouragement. Okay? When Apostle John was in Ephesus, let me show you this picture. Okay? This is the map of the ancient Asia. You can find here. And this is Ephesus. Apostle John lived here with the mother of Jesus, Mary. Okay? John took care of her. But there came the persecution. Okay? So he was arrested, and the Roman soldiers killed a lot of Christians, persecuted the church leaders, and especially John, very old apostle, was put into the burning oil. But surprisingly enough, he was not hurt. he was okay. So the Roman soldiers were really surprised, and they took him out of the burning oil. And the commander commanded to send him to the small land called Patmos. It's a very small land, like just a tiny point. And there he went to as a slave. If you go there, it looks like this. It's a very small island. It's a very rocky island. It's a very barren island. So there are so many rocks and stones like that. Well, he had to work the whole day breaking the rocks and stones together with other slaves. It was too difficult, too tired. So he prayed, Lord, take my life. It's enough. I want to be with you. But his prayer was not answered. But one day, something happened. A very young man beside him just fell down and became unconscious. He was really sick, was almost dying. And then Apostle John put his hands on his head and prayed desperately. And surprisingly enough, he was recovered. He became healthy again. And that was reported to the Roman soldiers and to the commander of the island. And after a few days, one son of the commander of the Roman soldiers became sick, very similar to this young man. So the commander invited the Apostle John and asked to pray for his son. And John prayed for the son, and the son was recovered miraculously. From that time on, Apostle John did not have to work again. So the commander took care of him and put him in a small cave. He can have a rest, he can eat, provided, his food is provided, and he can concentrate on prayer, of course. And then one day, God has revealed his plan for the kingdom, the final kingdom of God. So he was so old, and he had a secretary, and his secretary, according to church tradition, it was a procoro of one of the deacons of the Jerusalem church. He recorded everything. And according to the tradition, Apostle John and his secretary stayed in this island for 1 year and a half. So it's about 18 months. And he preached, of course, gospel to the inhabitants of the island, to the Roman soldiers, to the slaves. All the visitors listened to the sermon, to the message of Apostle John, and they became Christians. They were baptized. And the sick people were healed. Demon-possessed people became normal, healthy. So he did almost the same ministry like Jesus in this island. So the whole island became evangelized. And then he was released and went back to Ephesus. And he died there in peace. So when you see the image, the picture of Apostle John, you can always find that his head is very hard because he put his head on the ground and prayed. So he was really a man of prayer. And then you can find, let me move on, that his letters were sent to 7 churches, 7 representative churches. It's also found in the book of Revelation, right? And then let me show you the way to go up to the cave. It's in the middle of the southern island. It's very rocky, but you have to walk up, and this is the cave. This is a UNESCO heritage, actually, and the Greek Orthodox Church manages this place. So many people come to pray and to remember the Apostle John, and this is the port called Scala. And if you go there, you can find the mosaic when Apostle John saw the vision of the kingdom, and Brogoro writes what John has seen. And this is the inside of the cave. And John normally sat there and prayed. And this is a little bit extended for future visitors. And if you see, you can find another monastery of Apostle John. And if you see in the south, this is the highest place, and the white buildings are just normal buildings for inhabitants. I have heard about 3,000 people are living there, but this is the monastery of John. So many monks are still there, and this is the sanctuary of this monastery. And then why is that like a castle? Because the Turkish people invaded this island so often, and so the monastery was devastated many times. So after that, they rebuilt very strongly enough to defend this monastery against the attack outside. So this is why the apostle and his letters are so comforting and encouraging to those who were persecuted at that time. But also it can be encouraging and comforting each one of us when we have difficulties, when we have sufferings like coronavirus and so on. Okay? So let me go back here and explain a little bit more. Okay? So I have mentioned 6 points as an introductory remark of the Revelation, right? And then you might understand that this book is not to frighten us, to, make us scary. No, it is a very positive, very optimistic, very convincing that God's kingdom will be consummated. Okay? So, the first verse in the book of Revelation chapter 21, you can find that a new heaven, a new earth. And there's no more first heaven and the first earth that you can find in book of Genesis chapter 1, because the old order of things is gone, and the new order, new kingdom has come. So it is fully replaced. And the new means here not in time or new, not in terms of time, but it's qualitatively, eternally new. It will never be old again. So it's completely renewed. Here the cosmic part in Genesis means it's cosmic rebirth, renewal. So everything is new. All things are new here. One final comment. There is no longer any sea. Why? There is no sea anymore. Well, it does not mean the sea that we can see here outside. East Sea or other seas. No, it's just a symbolic expression, because if you see Revelation chapter 13, verse 1, sea is the symbol out of which the Antichrist comes out. Sea is the place where the beast is coming out. So that means the sea is the place of darkness. So the sentence that there is no longer any sea means there is no longer chaos, no longer darkness, no longer any anti-Christ power, because the kingdom of God is now complete and fulfilled. Okay? Let's take a short break and we will continue.